Take Two. I'm your host, Chris Edwards, and this is the show that takes a look back at previous guests from my Friday conversation show over on IG Live. I take a moment to revisit old guests and see the strides and moves they've made since we've last spoken. Today's guest is an executive director of We Speak Out, a relationship coach, content creator, and newly appointed LGBTQIA plus liaison for Prince George's County in Maryland. Help me welcome Mr. Antonio Driver. Antonio, what's up? How you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for allowing me to ask you to come back and you accepting.
Yeah.
So you actually were on back on what, the fourth month of this, I think, of this year? Yeah, 428, I think you were on. That's when we last had you on. And, you have been making some serious strides since the last time that we spoke. But for those that haven't seen you over on my IG page, let's get a little backstory on who you are and what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. So as you mentioned, I am now the first ever appointed LGBTQI plus liaison for Prince George's County. That's where I am now. But to kind of go back for those who who don't know me or aren't familiar with me, I am the founder and former executive director for Speak Out. Incorporated is a nonprofit organization here in Washington, D.C., but it's national and it serves young LGBTQI plus people of color around, mentorship, education, health awareness, and personal empowerment. The organization started as a Facebook group back in 2016, which we then turned it into a full operating nonprofit. And we have reached over 8,000 people across the country. We have tons of grants and different programs around the country, from whether it's HIV testing programs right here in the DMV or online mentorship program where we have sent over 500 individuals through that program. And the metrics have just been showing that everyone that went through that program are really striving in whatever it was. If they were trying to figure out, did they want to go to college? Did they want to, find some type of trade or some type of certification, or was it just simply to help overcome some challenge or struggle that they had in their life? And one of the things that a lot of people know the organization for is our annual fundraiser, but it's a huge awards gala, and it honors and acknowledges people from all over the country who do amazing work. We've had people like Vivica Fox host, Nico Annanen, who's the star of P-Valley, who plays Uncle Clifford, host before. We've had Patrick N. Polk as one of our honorees, who is the creator of Noah's Ark. We've had the entire cast of Noah's Ark there. We've had Avery Wilson perform. We've had Keith Boykins as an honoree. We've had, the list goes on. Who else? Judge Mathis has been an honoree. So there's been some pretty strong names, and we are looking forward to doing it again in April 13th, 2024. So that is still up and on its way. But as we talk about right now, I am now the newly appointed LGBTQI plus liaison for Prince George's County. I am now the board president of Speak Out. So I still have a lot of influence in making sure that the organization and all that it has done still moves forward.
Wow, that is a mouthful, and that is quite a resume to have. And at such a young age, you are doing some amazing things. And this is why I had you on originally, and why I'm so happy to have you on. It's impressive. The list goes on and on and on. I have to say, listen, for those that do not follow Mr. Antonio Driver, you definitely have to go follow him on his personal page and then follow all the things that he's doing. I had the pleasure of actually going to the I Am Awards this year, and it's such an amazing award show and gala, and just a representation that is there, and the performances, the speeches, just the whole entire thing from start to finish was amazing. I'm looking forward to what you guys do next year, and I'm definitely going to be in attendance.
It's going to be crazy. and big. There's so many surprises, and every time something new comes my way and I get the yes, I'm like, oh my gosh, and there's so much to like keep in for so long. But there
Well,
are big surprises coming this year. I
I'm
mean,
sure
well,
it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it because, like I said, this year was amazing. It was my first time attending, and I was like so impressed. Just the star-studded list, the diversity that was there, and I mean, just everything top notch from head to toe, head to toe. So let's kind of go back a little bit. I did mention that you are a relationship coach. Tell me how you got started in that, and is that something you're still currently doing?
so it is something I got started as a relationship coach because this group Speak Out has a Facebook group, and a great deal of what we talked about on in the group was about relationships and how to maintain them and how to keep them. And so, as I'm giving information, I wanted to at least have my information based off of my experiences a little bit more tailored in its delivery. And so I researched some programs, took the course, took the training, and I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. And I became really good friends with someone named Jay Lamar, who's a matchmaker out of Los Angeles. And he pulled together this show called The Coach's Corner. And he brought a dating coach, Brandon Kennedy, myself, the relationship coach, and Jay Lamar as a matchmaker. And we were just talking about love and relationships and how to find love, keep love, and let love go for about a year. And so it's not anything, to kind of answer your question, it's not anything that I'm not doing right now. It's not my focus, but it is a passion. So
Right,
um
right.
it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work but it's important work. It's just, it may not have the space right now with so
I,
much going on.
I hear you. I hear you. Listen, you have to make room for the things that are important for the time. I know that that's important to you, and it'll find its way back into the uh you know what you're
You
doing today.
I believe that, and in all transparency, I think it may find its way back a lot sooner than we think, and then I have made plans because you're like the fourth person who's asked me about it, and something landed on my desk the other day, and I was like, nah, but we'll see.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about content creation because despite all in addition to all the things you do create content. Talk about the content you're creating, the spaces that you're on, and what platforms you're using.
Well, I haven't. That's another piece. But we were doing an online show when we would do the Coaches Corner, where we would be on Instagram, we would be on YouTube, and we would be on Facebook. Um, Content creating for me started. It was the start. It was part of the birth of Speak Out. It was taking it outside the four walls of the Facebook group, and I was literally going to clubs with my microphone and my camera and my cameraman, just talking to people, interviewing them, doing the red carpet work that I don't even do anymore. I guess it's the elevation.
Yeah.
And so it was just basically having those conversations and creating those stories that we weren't talking about in 6-7 years ago, or at least bringing it to the forefront for social media to have. It's important. It's a lot of work, so I take my hat off to anyone who is doing it and who has still been doing it, but there are so many unique tools like StreamYard, and what else was, I can't remember the one we used. Gosh, but there are so many tools that can really help you if you're passionate. But I initially started with the Canon camera, and then I was literally shooting and then trying to edit it down. That was my thing. But it's not anything that I would want to do. What I did learn is that I enjoy being on the show and doing it. I don't enjoy the backgrounds of like the lighting and the ring lights and setting this and that. I know my strengths, and so but it
Okay.
is that I would always want to help and give people guidance. And yeah, lighting
Okay.
is your key. Lighting and good sound is your key.
Listen, I know right now I've got about four lights on me and three cameras going at the same time. So I totally get it. I totally get it. And then, it's a lot of work doing all that editing and cutting all the video and the audio together to make it look like something. So hats off to all the content creators out there that are doing this on a regular basis. It's not easy. And we appreciate all the hard work that you put in to produce the content that we watch. Now, with that being said, I really want to spend the majority of our time talking about your new appointed position as liaison for Prince George's County in Maryland for the LGBTQIA plus community. Talk about how that came about, when it came about, and what your role is in that space.
Wow. And what's so cool is that you get the first, I've done some big press conferences, but I've yet to like really get into the nooks of how it came apart.
Well, that's what we're here for. This is what I want to dive into today.
Yeah. I'll give you the story for sure. How it came about was probably an act of God, probably. Because so right after the IM Awards, I received an Instagram DM inbox from someone who worked for the county executive's office. And they're saying, hey, we saw you on the news promoting the IM Awards. We would love to have conversation with you about what they wanted to talk about was having conversation about bringing the IM Awards to Prince George's County, which is right next door to Washington, D.C. So if you've been in there, it's literally the Maryland side of it. Yep. And I was like, okay. And they wanted my support with finding an LGBTQI plus liaison. They weren't like looking. And so I sent a message back to them and I was like, oh, sure, absolutely. I'll give you a call, and actually forgot about it. And forgot about it. And then they kind of circled back to me again. So, and now this person is my director. And so I kind of laughed, like saying she jumped in my DMs because she did. And so she started to tell me about, we first talked about my event and I was telling her, how it came about and, where we are with, if it could come to, Prince George's County or not. And really we plan to keep it in DC, but obviously I wanted to have that conversation. But we really started to home in on the role. And I was like, well, so tell me more about the role. Tell me more about, what you were needing. So she gives me all of this and I'm like, okay, I have some great friends, but I have one last question. How much is this paying? It's the bottom line. How much is this paying? And so they tell me the number. So then I knew which type of friend I could send this to. And so I sent it over to a friend and that I thought would have been amazing for the job. And I said, well, look at this and tell me what you think, blah, blah, blah. I think it would be great, And so they looked at the job and they're saying, Antonio, why are you sending this to me? And I said to them, well, I'm sending it to you because I think you would be good for the job. And they said, Antonio, I don't think I would be great to do the job, but I think there's a reason you have the job in front of you. And so I looked at it and they said, I think you need to apply to this job, not understanding that there were 125 other people who had applied for this job. And there was still a process to go through it. And so I look at it, I'm like, yeah, but no, I'm good. I'm executive director. We're fine. I'm at the peak. I don't want to leave something that I've created. Why go be, And so I called the person back and I start to talk to her about the job a little bit more. And I said, well, I'm a little conflicted right now, but I prayed on, I think I'm going to apply to the job. So I apply, I just put my information in and I sent it up. And so I didn't hear anything back or whatever, but my friend kept calling. He said, so have you heard back from the job, whatever? And I was just saying, no, I hadn't heard anything. And I didn't want to like keep pressing it because I wasn't looking for a job. And so my friend kept calling. He was like, Antonio, you have to take this job because if you don't take it, it's going to land with someone who really doesn't have real roots to the community. And and there aren't many people that have the qualifications and the true connections to compete with some of the people I believe who will compete with this job. So long story short, I did, interviewed, did whatever, and the job was offered to me, and I was still kind of like, oh, I don't want to leave when I'm the boss. And so, but eventually I said, okay, I'm going to try this, and it's been a great decision. I didn't realize how, as they say in the office, how high profile the role was at the time. I just was like, okay. And so I started in June. The job was offered, and it was blasted all over social media, all over every local news station, the Washington Post, and all of this. And I'm like, I just thought this was going to be, I just get to work with my community. I didn't realize it was going to be as crazy as it was, and all the
Big
press.
in public.
Yes, big in public. But what I also didn't realize was that at the time, my boss had just announced that she would be running for U.S. Senate. And
Oh,
she is running for the U.S. Senate. And so the press and everything is on her entire administration, looking for any, because she's got some strong competitors. But I believe she's probably going to be our next U.S. Senator very soon, for Maryland. And so it just amplified everything, and it was done in Pride Month, so it amplified it even more. So every news station, I was walking, I couldn't go in the grocery store. Oh, we seen you on TV, we seen you on whatever. And so that was the exciting part of the job. The hard part of the job is Prince George's County is a very conservative county. They've never had this role before, so it's very historical. It's Prince George's County is ran by a lot of, I'm not going to say ran by, but very highly influenced by the church community, these grand power churches in that area. And so initially it could have been some pushback, but I think that we are making a lot of ground with having the conversation about being able to respect differences and understand that you can believe what you can believe, but we're talking about people here. And so that's a continual conversation. It's a lot of work. It's very gratifying hearing the stories, talking to youth, like learning all of the things, even when I was in high school, like, wow, you all are now coming out and saying you are trans in high school, or fighting to have non-binary bathrooms or gender neutral bathrooms. And there's a lot of work that I do with educating just government employees around, just pronouns, and, really helping them understand the LGBTQI plus community, and saying that, we're not monolithic. Like we aren't just one. There are many facets, and you don't understand. Gays have a different problem than the lesbians. There are concerns in the trans people, and then those who are not. There are so many different layers, and then don't add if you're Black versus white. And so I said, one of the things that it's just a lot and to unpack there.
Right. So let me ask you this. This is a new role that's been created, and you're a pioneer, and you're pioneering this role basically. What are you bringing to the table to work through your day? What does a typical day look like for you?
A typical day for me right now, because once again, I'm still fairly new, is that my typical day, I go into the office. I get every day, I'm probably bombarded with maybe 30 to 40 emails from communities, constituents, having concerns maybe with their school, their child wanting to come out, someone wants to talk about being transitioned. And so I kind of go through that, look at work. Then I am talking to the chief of staff, the chief of police, the director of the health department, trying to address these concerns, having meetings, to kind of push out some new initiatives into the school system, or push out new programs for the entire county. So every day is different. There is there's no day that seems or looks the same, because each problem has its own unique set of skills that may require a different person. And then, maybe I'm sitting in a county council meeting for hours to challenge some kind of case, if that's something. So it's a lot of politicking. Am I talking to this mayor of this city? How can you make your city more inclusive? Am I talking to the state representative for this person, or the state senate, to make sure that we are getting the services and the funds that we need for our county? Am I rallying or writing a proposal for a housing plan for LGBTQI plus homeless youth? So anything LGBTQI plus in the county of 1 million people comes to my office.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this now, because this is a new role. Do you have a staff that works with you to help support you to do a lot of these things? Do you have initiatives to go out into the communities to address some of these things these issues that are coming up?
So when I was hired, new role, nothing. There was nothing. So everything is being built. I don't have staff yet, but at the top of the year, my goal is to, have some staff. Have hired some people to support some of the initiatives. But when you hire someone and not recognizing that, oh, you're here, but we didn't realize all of this was needed as well. So it's finding that support to allow me to then make those.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. Does your experience of running We Speak Out in the I Am Awards and all the other things that you've done in the past really build up on and allow you to do what you're doing now? Like, how do all those things impact and motivate you to do the job that you're doing?
I think that is the key, and I think that is why truth be told, that is why I'm in the role I'm in, and because it's the relationships that I already had existing. It's the grant writing skills, it's the identifying, concerns, making sure everyone is represented. It is the event planning. It is really having relationships with the community on the ground. So a lot of things that I think if someone who hadn't had the experience with the community right here may face a different set of challenges, but I get a lot of yeses really based off of the work that I've done in my previous role.
Mhm.
And a lot of the community wants to see me succeed, but also want to see this role succeed. So it's not as much pushback from the community when I come in, or when I'm asking for support, or if I'm asking, hey, can you do this for me, or can you show up here for me? A lot of it's like, oh yes, absolutely, we got, and that's what I love. Like, I'm just the voice, and that's really what the role of a liaison is being the voice of the people to the government. And for so long, we have not had a voice. Well, never had a voice in county government to speak for LGBTQI plus communities. So now that I'm
Mhm.
there, they are hearing things very loud and clear, whether it's from the community advisory board that I've set up and established, or directly from myself.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, the community has come such a long way. I mean, you don't hear too many communities saying, "Hey, we've got a liaison for the LGBTQIA plus community." So for you to be in such a role, I mean, it's groundbreaking. One, especially in Prince George's County in Maryland. You're the first. So let's kind of step back a little bit. Being of someone who's in the LGBTQIA plus community, what drives you and what made you decide that, hey, I want to be able to go out and be on the forefront and support our people, to talk and to uplift our people and to give our people a voice?
I think that it's something that I think about when I think about my younger self. I think about Antonio when he was 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I didn't know there was no liaison. Noah's Ark was on TV, and we were all glued because we had never been able to see us on TV in that light, and so I think about what I needed, and I try to create spaces and be that person to the generation that's coming behind me, so that
Mhm.
it doesn't fall, the things that the work that those Marsha P. Johnsons, those really big pioneers, the work doesn't stop because we have rights now, or we can get married now, or we have certain liberties now, because a lot of those things can be taken away. So who's taking the torch next? And so right now I may have been handed the torch, but I need to see, let other people, especially Black people, see that I'm Black and I'm doing this. And oftentimes in roles like this, you don't see a Black man in it. You see, you see someone else that doesn't identify. My goal is now, how do we bring the trans people into, when I'm looking for staff, I'm looking for, how can we bring a trans person into the government, into the county exec, the highest office in the county you can get, and really be the voice. And it's about just having representation. And I want to, at least, if nothing else, when it's all said and done, is saying, like, he made an impact, but it wasn't about self. It was about making sure that the next person has an opportunity, maybe that I didn't have, maybe I had it, or I want to make sure that it sustains. And I tell people now, although I am the first in this role, my primary job is to make sure that I am not the last.
Yeah. You being the first, what would you tell your younger self about where you are now? Like you said, you didn't see these things. You're a pioneer. You're doing this for the first time. So what would you tell your younger self about the position and the roles that you've taken on throughout your life?
Wow. One, I think my younger self would be shocked, like completely blown away. Like, what? You are what? We're going to be doing what? I never would have believed that any of the things that I've done, whether it was with Speak Out or with where I'm doing now, believe it. So what would I tell my younger self at this point? Knowing what I know is just, hey, trust yourself and keep going forward.
Okay. Well, what else do you have planned within the next year to 5 years? Where do you see yourself?
There is some other, I do have some other plans. My mind is set on some things. I'm still suffering through how that will look, but this is a stepping stone. Especially now getting a better view of the landscape of what's needed, and where the voices need to be. Of course, I want to see Speak Out continue to flourish, but I also know that is a space that at some point someone else has to come up and brand it and continue to take it much further than I've taken it. So I'll be ready to step aside and see where that goes, and see who does it. I've got about a year or two left in that role, which is, it's a bittersweet thing, but it's a role it's something that I understand needs to happen. Far as professionalism, I think that there needs to be a voice when we talk about politics. I think that sometimes we're letting people make decisions for us in a room full of people who don't look like us, who don't identify like us, and don't understand us, but they're making laws and rules. And so I'm looking to find my seat at that table to say, wait a minute, before you make this rule, or you decide that this isn't going to be in law, that this is what we need to do, and this is why you need to consider this. And so that is kind of like where I think I'm shaping my mind.
Okay.
If you follow, you follow.
Listen, I follow you, my brother. Listen, I think you've got a great future ahead of you. I think that you are the type of person that we need in a position of power to allow us to have a seat at the table. Politics is rife with a lot of different things right now, and some of it's not good. We those of us that are in the LGBTQIA plus community, we've come a long way. We've been able to gain a lot of positive things, but of course, what they say, 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or 1 step forward and 2 steps back, however you want to look at it. But there's still a lot of work to be done. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that you're out there, you have a presence, and you're helping to shape the future for LGBTQIA plus people. And I want to see you continue to do that. I'm going to always follow your journey and all the things that you're doing because you're doing amazing things. So before we go, any words of wisdom for the people that are watching?
Oh gosh, words of wisdom.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, that was definitely on the spot. I think I would always say anyone who is dreaming, continue to dream, but put action behind that dream and, take that dream, not don't look at it from the big picture, but just taking it step by step, breaking it down so that it's not big and trusting yourself in, your dream. So
Oh,
I guess if I had to sum it all up, follow your dreams, but in following it, trust yourself.
well, listen, I believe in you. I'm going to trust in you. I'm going to trust in myself. With that, Antonio, thank you so much for this amazing conversation. So well needed. It was so great catching up with you. And I look forward to all the things you've got coming ahead. And I'm going to be following you, my brother, because I think that you're going to be one of those people that are one to watch and people need to take notice of you. So thank you so much. All right.
Thank
I'll talk to you again. Have a
you.
good one.
You too.
Well, guys, that was Mr. Antonio Driver. What an amazing individual, amazing person. He is going places, and I want you guys to make sure that you tune in and keep it locked on him because he's going to be doing some amazing things. But thank you guys again for watching. Join me next week for another great guest and another great episode. So until then, take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for watching this show on Indie Soup Media. Now, if you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and hit the notification button so that you can get notified when we drop new videos every week. See you guys next time.